Welcome back. If last week taught us anything, it's that a whole year's worth of news can come in a single day or even a single hour. And while we probably won't have another day like last Tuesday anytime soon, when Paul Manafort was convicted of tax and bank fraud at nearly the same time Michael Cohen was pleading guilty to fraud and campaign violations, this could be another headline-making week for Robert Mueller's investigation. After all, the midterms are a little more than 2 months away, and the Justice Department urges its prosecutors to avoid making moves that could be perceived as political close to Election Day. Look, do we expect Mueller to wrap up his investigation in the next few weeks? No. But can we see new indictments, new guilty pleas, new subpoenas? That's a distinct possibility. And as for what Mueller's next move may be, as the New York Times puts it, the answer might lie in a by-the-book past. With me now is Matt Apuzzo, the New York Times reporter who wrote that story. He's also an MSNBC contributor. Matt, I realize you don't entirely agree with this idea that Mueller might have a blockbuster week this week because he's got to go silent until the midterms. But what, if you can, for me, explain the general thinking for why Mueller might lay low for the next 2 months.
Well, I mean, the general thinking is that Rudy Giuliani has floated September 1st as some sort of deadline. The truth is that the guidelines that are put forward by pretty much every attorney general say don't bring election-related crimes, don't bring election-related charges close to an election unless there's a compelling need to do so, because what you want to do is you want to avoid the appearance that you're trying to steer the outcome of an investigation. I mean, the outcome of an election, sorry. And that is absolutely a guiding principle. I'm not totally sure that it would come into play here in the midterms. It's not usually construed in such a broad way that you can't bring any kind of political case close to Election Day. It would be construed more narrowly if a specific candidate was running. But even in the case against Ted Stevens, they brought that in the final days of a campaign. They indicted him. So I don't see any indication that Bob Mueller, who is famously impatient and does not like meandering investigations, I don't see any indication that he is going to sit on his hands come September 1st and say, let's all regroup after November.
So could we see indictments on October 25th, on November 3rd?
Look, I think that if Bob Mueller has an indictment teed up, for instance, let's talk about Roger Stone. Roger Stone, the longtime Trump advisor, is clearly under investigation. Mueller's team has a grand jury impaneled and is hearing testimony from witnesses related to Roger Stone's his activities. If the Mueller team wanted to move forward with an indictment against Roger Stone in October, hypothetically, I'm not totally sure how that would trigger any kind of prohibition against making a move, because it would somehow influence the outcome of the midterms. And again, that's also not a decision that Mueller necessarily would get to make. He'd have to consult with career prosecutors at DOJ, and he'd have to consult with Rod Rosenstein. So I think it's absolutely possible that that Mueller makes additional moves before Election Day. And I think what you can be certain of, what I know from Bob Mueller and from covering him, is that they are going to press forward, and they are not going to set any kind of arbitrary deadline.
Rudy Giuliani is trying to set an arbitrary deadline, or at least it seems like an arbitrary deadline, that September 1st deadline, as you mentioned a moment ago. He's also saying this, and this was a tweet from Saturday, just a few days before 60-day run-up to 2018 elections. If Mueller wants to show he's not partisan, then issue a report on collusion and obstruction. They will show President Trump did nothing wrong. Then we will have to admit you were fair, and we will. First of all, that argument makes absolutely no sense. It's a heads I win, tails you lose argument. He's only going to decide if Mueller is fair or if Mueller exonerates the president.
Right. And I think what you're seeing here is Giuliani's really laying bare the strategy. He's saying, we've put out this 60-day deadline. We try to make it sound like it is some sort of hard and fast rule. And if Mueller does something after September 1st, then we can say Mueller is breaking with precedent, which he wouldn't be. And Mueller's not playing by the rules and Mueller's political. So, I mean, them putting the Trump team establishing September 1st as this kind of line in the sand, it's really just a public relations move, because anything that he makes, any move that Mueller makes after that, they can point back to the line and say, you crossed the line, and nobody will remember, well, wait a minute, it's the Trump team that drew the line in the first place.
Roger Stone is out there, and he's talking about the investigation, and who knows what his goal is here. Maybe it's to potentially get some of the heat off of himself, but he's claiming that he's got excellent sources that the special counsel is going to charge Don Jr. in a crime. Do you have any indication that Don Jr. might be in legal trouble imminently?
I mean, that's obviously not anything we've reported. Roger Stone, I guess, has good sources in the FBI, it seems. But I would say that we know that Donald Trump Jr. His conduct is under scrutiny by the FBI and by the special counsel's office. We know that members of Congress have raised questions about whether he was truthful in his testimony for Congress, and if he wasn't, that would implicate federal crime. And so certainly the other indication we have is that Bob Mueller has not interviewed, as far as we know, Donald Trump Jr. And usually you wait for the end to interview your targets or your most important subjects. So we have obviously signs that the special counsel is looking at Donald Trump Jr.'s activities. We have no indication that he's a target or a putative defendant. And certainly I don't have any information that supports what Roger Stone is saying about the fact that he's going to be indicted. But I'll eagerly wait to see what comes of Roger Stone's reporting.
Matt Apuzzo, all the way from Brussels. Get some sleep, my friend.
Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Meet the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.